This is not a sci-fi movie, not a dream, and not a hoax. This is the testimony of a man who claims he was abducted by aliens and lived to tell the tale. Over 40 years later, his story still sparks debate across the world. Now let's hear it from him, a moment that changed his life forever. When Travis Walton regained consciousness, nothing felt real. His mind floated in and out, surrounded by dim light and overwhelming pain. He couldn't tell where he was, but he was sure something inside him had gone terribly wrong. He was dying. That was the first thought that hit him. Then, out of the blur, he saw 3 beings standing near him, small, pale, large, dark eyes, no expression, no movement. Instinct took over. Panic erupted. Every movie, every nightmare about aliens surged forward. He believed they were the ones hurting him, and his fight or flight kicked in. But he was weak, barely able to move, let alone fight. Still, he lashed out. His hand struck the nearest creature, surprisingly soft and light, and it fell back into the others. Somehow, Travis rolled off the table and away from them. He didn't know where he was or how he got there, but one thing was clear. He had to escape. The room was dim, sterile, and eerily quiet. Travis lay on a raised table under a soft, glowing light that resembled a giant overhead lamp. There were no wires, no machines buzzing, just silence, and those 3 beings standing near him. They didn't speak. They didn't move quickly. They didn't do anything that made sense. Travis, still disoriented and terrified, searched for a way out. Adrenaline surged through his body as he spotted a shelf nearby. Without thinking, he reached behind and grabbed a long, clear rod, maybe glass, maybe plastic. He never really looked at it. He just swung. Screaming threats and swinging wildly, he forced the beings back. They didn't resist. In fact, they backed away, silent and calm, almost mechanical. It only made the fear worse. He had one goal: get to the only visible doorway just beyond them. But the way they just stood there, expressionless, unaffected by his rage, was more terrifying than if they'd attacked him. He felt like a cornered animal, thrashing against something far more advanced, far more unknown. And yet they didn't harm him. They didn't even stop him. That silence was louder than any scream. Travis kept his eyes on them as he moved. Their faces, hairless, smooth and blank, were almost childlike, but utterly alien. No emotion, no blinking, no reaction to his screaming or swinging. That unnatural calm pierced him deeper than fear. They looked alive, but acted like machines. At first, he wondered if they were even living beings, maybe robots. But as time passed, Travis began to question everything he thought he knew. What if they didn't need to speak because they were telepathic? What if emotions, facial expressions, even words were obsolete for them? That would explain their eerie silence. And maybe, just maybe, they weren't hurting him. Maybe they were trying to help or study or even save him. But at that moment, all Travis could feel was raw terror. He was in a place beyond understanding. No windows, no sky, no air that he could feel. Just this room, these beings, and the overwhelming sense that he didn't belong. He would later reflect on that moment for decades, but in that instant, instinct ruled everything. Logic, compassion, reason, they were gone. He didn't care what they were. He only cared about getting away. Travis doesn't remember exactly how he got away. He just knows he did. And 5 days later, after being missing without a trace, he was found, disoriented and traumatized, on the side of a road. For weeks after, he barely spoke, almost catatonic. Not from physical injury, but from sheer psychological devastation. He wasn't just scared. He had experienced something no one could prepare for. Over time, though, fear gave way to reflection. And Travis began to see things differently. What if his reaction had been wrong? What if the beings hadn't meant harm? He had attacked them out of fear, not fact. They had the power to destroy him, but they didn't. In fact, they returned him. That one detail changed everything.